I was in quite a dark place where I felt very rejected and like I wasn't succeeding. Hey, I'm Gabriel Cross and I'm here with It's Gone Viral to talk about mental health.
Let's talk about mental health and your journey with mental health. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do, because you've got a really interesting story.
I would classify myself as an adult performer.
If I may, I'd like to go back way before the adult performing started. What were you doing previous to that?
So I trained from a very, very young age in theatre as predominantly a professional dancer, and kind of worked in theatre, I think from the age of 7. It was the first time I was on stage in the West End. Nothing compares to being on stage in front of thousands of people, and it's an absolutely unbelievable experience, but I think it's a very unhealthy industry. There's so much rejection all the time. The audition process, contracts are incredibly short, the pay is incredibly bad, and you really live hand to mouth.
It's very clear when you talk and your energy lifts and the passion that comes across with regards to that high and that addiction of actually being on stage and everything that goes with that. And then literally in a flip of a coin, you explain the lows of rejection. How did that manifest itself in you as a young man?
Self-confidence issues a lot, because you're constantly being rejected on an incredibly personal level. A lot of the time it is to do with appearance. For a guy, I'm very short, and that definitely significantly impacts on castability. It means you never fit into the chorus. You always have to be going for character roles, which there's much fewer of those. And it really began to grate on me, and it has had a long-term impact on my self-confidence.
Okay, and specifically, if you're comfortable talking about it, your self-confidence with your body image, is that how it manifested
Predominantly,
itself?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And when that was bad, what did that look like?
It's still very much there. I think also growing up in the 80s, showing my age here, there was extreme representation of rather over-muscled male physique was very apparent. And growing up as a gay guy, you develop a very strange relationship with it's the body you want to have as well as the body you want to be with, but it's not necessarily attainable for the majority of people.
Okay, yeah, no, that's interesting. It's so you found yourself in this place where actually you wanted to move on to something else.
Yes.
Not really sure what that looked like, suffering with confidence issues. From a negative mental health perspective, where were you at that point when you went into the sex work?
I was in quite a dark place where I felt very rejected and like I wasn't succeeding. And I'd hit a point where I thought, if I go into another single audition and I get turned down again, I'm hitting a point where I'm just not going to cope. And I feel like I'm at breakdown point. So I jumped over into the adult world and immediately saw success. So it gave me a huge amount of validation.
Okay. All right. And obviously we're talking about mental health awareness.
Yes.
And as we're talking, it's very clear that you have an awareness that there is almost a point in the future where there is a potential for your mental health to drop significantly.
Absolutely.
What are you doing to kind of protect yourself from that in the longer term?
I think awareness is very important, but I'm trying to be as sensible and logical almost as possible with the behaviour around my mental health, and just try to look at it as much as a job and creating long-term security for myself.
Okay, so fast forward, we've talked a lot about the past.
Yes.
Let's fast forward to bring us back to the current day and the future and OnlyFans. How do you see OnlyFans providing you with what you need from from a mental health perspective as well as obviously a financial perspective? The financial thing you've talked about, and that's...
Yes, and the danger, I think, is to use the OnlyFans to provide that validation that we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
and in a very stark way, because of course you can directly see your figure, like your fan count going up and down on a daily basis, and the likes and the level of fan interaction. So if anything, it's probably damaging from a mental health perspective. And I find social media a very difficult area, because I take things far too personally. And people within the OnlyFans, it's normally such a positive interaction that I have with anyone there, because they're choosing to pay a subscription to be there. I need to maintain quite a large social media presence from a business perspective, but I wish I didn't, because I do think it's very damaging for mental health. The way people interact there is very toxic, I think. It's like you constantly walk a fine line of alienating people or upsetting people, and the way certain people can then react as a result, and trolling that can then kind of snowball from the result of something incredibly minor that may have just been a lack of judgment in the moment. You have to I'm constantly analysing what I'm posting,
right,
and live in constant fear of hitting the wrong nerve, and then that snowballing.
And how does that feel, that constant?
Honestly, I would completely withdraw from social media if I could.
Okay.
I have absolutely no interest of being there from a personal perspective. I have no personal social media at all. It's all work. The day I decide to retire and stop the OnlyFans, all of my social media will be completely shut down, because I have zero interest in it, just from various different personal experiences with it. People definitely will react and put themselves across in a way that they would never act in a normal social setting if they were there in real life, which pushes people to suicide in extreme circumstances. But it's not uncommon. People seem to want to create an enemy rather than enlighten people or try and educate people. It's purely about someone being evil, when people are far more complex than that. There are many greys. It's not simply black and white.
Yeah. It sounds very much like, as you talk, the vision I'm almost getting is this fine line between judgment and validation.
Yes, I
it's almost like a
completely agree
seesaw
with that.
of your experience. So you talk there about, you know, the extreme of mental health issues and suicide. Is that something that you have ever felt like? Is that?
Yeah, actually partially because of social media. I found lockdown very, very difficult because I'm an incredibly social person.
Yeah.
But having said that, I do think I'm in quite a good emotional place right now. Strangely, I'm hoping now the light is at the end of the tunnel with that side of things. And I think everyone has decided that, at least here in the UK, everyone is really kind of very firmly in that direction. So I hope that's the end of that. But I've seen how damaging social media can be to friends, to myself, to various other people. People just don't think. I really made a very conscious decision quite some time ago to really only put positive things out that I post, just having known what a negative impact you can have on someone without even realising.
Yeah.
And people just don't seem to think or acknowledge any level of responsibility for their actions.
Is there any advice that you could give to somebody that is in that place right now? Has listened to you and gone, actually he's describing me.
The way I deal more than anything is actually exercise. I know that's silly, but I know it's not uncommon either. I find actually that it's not even the results of the exercise, but that time I have to myself quietly training really helps my mental stability. You need to learn to lean into your strengths and embrace them, things that make you different and what make you interesting. And it's once you accept the things that make you different, I mean, people are always threatened by differences, but it's those differences that make you interesting and that can be so much more beautiful than just conforming.
Perfect bit of advice. If you've been affected by anything that you've heard in this series, there are people that you can talk to. See the top comment for the relevant organisations that you can reach out to.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Kevin Hart.
Hi, my name's Eric Stonestreet.
Hi, I'm Margot. I'm Journey.
I'm James McAvoy.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe.
I'm Rebel Wilson.
I'm Jeremy Clarkson.
I'm going to be translating some Scottish tweets for It's Gone Viral.
On It's Gone Viral.
Ooh, on It's Gone Viral.